Longevity expert Ben Greenfield made a post about how a body that has heavy pressure upon it as it ages is biologically 10 years younger than a body that doesn't have that pressure. Now, when the knee is over the toes, it was found that that is more pressure on the knee. The overwhelming majority then swung to avoiding that pressure. Now I want you to visualize for me that you're going downhill on a mountain. You have a heavy pack on, okay? So you've hiked to the top, you're going back down. So every single step you take, your knee is over your toes. Just having people do these kind of activities, we want the ability to do that, but just sending everyone off to do that is not going to work for everyone because some will break down in the process, right? Now imagine that exact motion going downhill. Now imagine dragging a sled backward. So, by nature, if we think about a traditional resistance exercise, we allow the weight to move us, then we move the weight. So if I put 1,000 pounds on my back, maybe I'd be fine, maybe I'd break bones in the process, right? But we know we need that pressure. When I move a sled, the sled could require 1,000 pounds of pressure from the ground up. It just might not move. So there's a fundamental difference in safety. This is why for my parents who are 64, 67, they start every session with the sled. But this is also how I went from age 23, surgical alterations in the left knee, more diagnosed tears in the right, a lifetime of avoiding knees over toes, a lifetime of avoiding pressure.
Literally, I don't know if he could touch the rim with his fingertips with no basketball or anything else.
To now being in my 30s, being able to dunk every which way, having freakish knees. I mean, I hate to show this stuff because I wouldn't want someone to do this on flat ground, but it's like 40 something degrees here, okay? So that's not how I got my knees. That is intense pressure. I can handle pressure now, but there's no way anyone in the world over the last 10 years, there's no way anyone has spent more time handling pressure from the ground up safely. So I stopped counting at 100 miles. We're talking over, years period. But this, I start every session with sled and I push it forward, okay? And that was a point I wanted to discuss when it comes to knees over toes. Albert Einstein said something along the lines of, if you can't teach it to a 6-year-old, you don't understand it yourself. So here's me teaching knees over toes to a 6-year-old. Push the sled. 100% of the time, they'll be knees over toes. It's just how it works. It's how the human body is designed. And that you can generate, again, with the push. That's why I'm belted up like this. That's why I only built one side of this thing. You can generate a ton of pressure. So I actually end up pushing this thing as hard as I possibly can, but that pressure's coming from the ground up. And then I go backward as hard as I possibly can. So we've gone over that concept of pressure, but that even applies to something like bending our knees all the way. Okay, bending the knee all the way, what does that do? That gives compression. Now compression and motion, those are the two things needed for maximum synovial fluid production. That's the oil that delivers nutrient to the joint, but the solution is not just to force people into heavy loaded knee bending. It actually would work for a lot of people, but now we look at something like the ATG split squat regression. What are we doing? We're again finding and mastering applying pressure at our 100% pain-free level. So really you're looking at my two favorite exercises of all time. Backward sled dragging, applying pressure to knees over toes from the ground up, and the ATG split squat regression, which also gives me incredible hip flexor length, which I think we all need from excess sitting. But in terms of the knee, that's beside the point. That's allowing me to progress to being able to handle compression, pressure through a full knee bend, right? Through that regression. So I'm not going to tell you what the secret to longevity is, but we know that we need that pressure to be biologically young. We know that when the knee is over the toe, there's more pressure on the knee. The two things that I find don't work are pushing through something that's painful for someone. So a painful amount of pressure, I don't like. It's not what my system is. Nor is just avoiding that pressure. And now in this same week, I'm training Romanian deadlifts. I'm applying pressure to every area of my body. My entire system, all it is sled plus mastering how to apply pressure without pain to your entire body. So I don't like painful pressure, and I don't like avoiding pressure. What do you think the secret to longevity is?